At my screen now. Yes. Okay, Kaja, I have admitted all. So if anyone new joins in now, you will take care, right?
Sure. Yeah. Fine.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I know it's not easy on a Saturday morning, today 5-day week. Let me full screen, so I'm not able to.
On the below right, if you hover, you'll be able to see, yeah, on the right side. Right side.
Yeah, I'm full screen. I thought I'll open my video to say hi to everyone.
You can open this in a new tab.
Oh, okay, sorry, I found it. Just want to say hi, and then I'll turn on video just to make sure that I'm not consuming all the internet bandwidth. Hi guys, I'm Srinivas. Kaja did my introduction. So I've been with QA since for a long time, very long time. As my LinkedIn profile says, I love technologies. I focus more on architecture, frameworks, process improvement. Let's start this session. This will be, and before starting, thanks everyone today morning, I said, and happy Teachers Day. On any teachers out there, happy Teachers Day to everyone. If my voice is not clear or if something is not clear, just put it down in the chat and I will adjust accordingly. Anything that you want, if something is not clear, if you want to repeat something, just type it in the chat. I will be looking at it, hopefully. If not, Kaja, you can remind me. So this is the topics. It's all about IAC.
Srinivas, people are saying that your voice is breaking. In fact, it's breaking for me also.
Oh, is it any better?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, thanks. I will be little loud. Maybe it's like I'm a little slow. Again, thanks again. Inform me if my voice is low or anything. So there'll be series of sessions on IAC infrastructure as code. I'll talk about everything, starting from Ansible, Packer, Terraform, and other tools that we have there. What are the tools that we have? Why IAC? Everything, mostly demo based. The first session will be somewhat theory because there are a lot of questions on what IAC is, why should I learn, what is it, why is it for QA. There are several questions that way, so there'll be some theory in the first session, but other things all will be demo based. Okay, so in this session, I'll talk about IAC. I told about that. I will talk about what infrastructure is as code is and why it's important for QA. And there are a lot of questions when you did the registration. I will go through all the questions once I talk about IAC. Hopefully by that time, I would have answered all the questions. If not, I will answer them at this time. And then I will just give you a small trailer on the Ansible. We will write our first script and see how it runs. Then you will know why Ansible. It will be very clear on why Ansible and why not shell script or other scripts, other things too. Configuration management. Okay, just like a little history on all it, how it started. What is there's like all the buzzwords, continuous delivery, DevOps, IAC, they're all the buzzwords right now, right? So I'll explain you so that it's clear how it all evolved one by one, because it's not clear to everyone on the evolution of DevOps or IAC. Why did they come suddenly in last few years? And I have given a session on IAC like a few weeks back. So if anyone wants, I will paste them in the chat video. That's a complete overview of IAC. If you want to see that, I can paste that in the chat. Participants. That's it. So most of the companies are now implementing some kind of agile framework, either it's Scrum or Safe or Kanban, right? Everyone is following some level of agile. So agile is all about releasing early and continuous delivery. Customer satisfaction is the main thing, right? So how do you release? One of the main agile principle is that how do you release early? How can we release? How can we be ready all the time, anytime? So today morning, if I check something, can I deploy that to the customer today evening? So that's how continuous delivery came to the limelight. Continuous integration or continuous validation, continuous deployment, delivery, they're all same. So preparing your pipeline. So when some check-in happens, there'll be a build happening, there'll be a test running, and then if there is some issue, it will be notified to the team, and they will fix it, and again a build happens. It's a cycle. Once everything is fine, that is deployed. That's how CI/CD CV became popular, and that became the need of the hour. Along with CI/CD, we have like shift left that came in, and IAC and other. So if all teams, all companies, they started implementing their delivery pipelines, saying that, okay, I want to run this thing for CI, my continuous integration, and I want regression tests, performance, scans, security scans, uh, continuous validation or delivery. So everyone have this, but how are they running tests? They need some hardware, right? Whether it's in the cloud or some kind of VM infrastructure, virtual machines, or a dedicated physical hardware. Who does the job? It's done by IT operations, usually. They might sit in the same building or in different building or in a different country. They are not usually sits with the Scrum team, but Scrum team does not have IT operations. So when you need a machine, when there is some issue with the machine that you are running, you have to go to IT, talk to them, raise a work request, there is a process and there are delays. And that hinders the continuous delivery again. So that's like slows down everything. That's how DevOps came in. DevOps is development plus operations. Development is Dev and QA, and then operations. So should we have a DevOps team to speed up everything? We don't have to wait. One DevOps person or like a team, a DevOps team will be tied to a Scrum team. They might be closely working with the Scrum team, and they will answer all. That's how DevOps came into limelight. And DevOps can be a separate team. If you are a big organization, you can afford things. DevOps can be a separate team. But if you are a small organization, DevOps can be one person from development, one person from QA. That can be a DevOps team. That's how I know some organizations that way. In my organization, I have like many of my team members like helping DevOps. We have a DevOps team, but we do a lot of IAC things. We help them, they help us. We know where to help. Kind. So that's how the DevOps came in. So it's all makes sense, right? Why Agile came in, what is CI/CD, why DevOps came in. It's a natural extension, as I said, combines development and operations. So when you are writing code to build, you can also do the running part. Why should you ask why should you wait for someone? If you do a value stream mapping of all things, you'll see a lot of delays if you are following the old model. So this is to reduce some of those things. Okay, so if it's not clear, just we can talk later. So this is from Wikipedia, what continuous delivery means. So come to IAC. I didn't come to IAC part yet. So I talked about some of this. When someone checks in, when the Scrum team member checks in, whether development, QA, anyone, there'll be a there'll be a trigger uh, when they try to do a pull request in Git, and then tests will start running. If there is an issue with the tests, you'll get a feedback. Okay, you have to fix them before you can continue with check-in. And once that is fixed and a check-in happens, and if the test pass, then it will go to the next level of tests. The first thing may be just a unit test, next acceptance test, and then you can have whatever you have in your, you just mentioned 2, 3. But for us, the continuous validation is performance tests, code scans, security scans, a lot of things. And only when everything passes, and then the final approval for the release thing. This is the continuous delivery pipeline. So as you see here, if there is any issue, I mean, not with the check-in, if there is any issue with the infrastructure or the tests, during this time, everyone is blocked. And there'll be a lot of frustration. Believe me, we have gone through this cycle where we have tests that are not stable and infrastructure that is not stable, and there is a lot of, I mean, discussions and like, how do we fix, how do we do that? So we should have rock solid tests, rock solid infrastructure, rock solid third-party applications. Like you might be using products like third-party databases, app servers to test your application, like Oracle, you need it. What we do is we ask IT to create a server, and then we use that. It's in a VM or somewhere hosted. And over time, there'll be issues, right? If you run it for like a year or months, there'll be logs will be full, or the machine becomes slow, and then the test starts failing. So we have faced all that issues, but without this being rock solid, your continuous delivery pipeline is often people, your team start complaining, saying, okay, I cannot, I have a important fix for a customer and you're stopping me. I don't have any issue with my fix. So I cannot, yeah, I cannot accept this. So that's why we need this to be rock solid. So how can we make infrastructure third-party application tests? We can work on it. We'll fix them if they are not reliable. But how can we make infrastructure and third-party applications rock solid? So there is a concept of mutable and immutable infrastructure. Mutable is like we have a fixed machine, fixed servers that we use again and again and again every day. And there is a drift that happens when you use them every day. And when we do multiple patches, there's a drift that happens. And when we call IT and say like, oh, I need this to be installed, it's all manual process. They might do everything perfectly, but they might turn on antivirus there because that's the requirement. And if you're running performance tests, that might interfere with your performance sometimes. When the scan kicks in, the performance is wrong. There will be so many things that can go wrong. And immutable is everything through code. You create a machine through code, you configure the machine through code, and the code lives along with your tests, along with your development code, everything. And you manage, you know if the code changes, what changed, you have a track of everything over the years, over several years. If you want to go back to last year and say, this time, how did I run my code? You have it, everything. That's immutable infrastructure. And that's how infrastructure as code came in. So if you're not, I think you should be clear by now, but I'll still, if you're not clear, we can talk in the next slide. I will pause in the next slide. So what is infrastructure as code? It's like provisioning and configuring everything that you need, through hardware and the infrastructure applications through. That's IAC. So you know why it's important, right? And it's not a separate team. It's not DevOps. So it can be anyone. The concept of DevOps is there now, but tomorrow it might go off saying that, okay, I think the Scrum team can do this. So someone can start it and it will become a norm. Um, and there's a lot of advantages with infrastructure as well. You will have immutable infrastructure and the speed of it. You just click it and you get it in a minute. If you need a VM now, right now in your organization, it takes some time, right? It's not 2 minutes. It might be you. Some of you might have access to create VMs. But mostly it's like we talk to IT and it happens. The efficiency. So right now, how it happens is you have like a machine which is running Oracle or a VM which is running your test. It runs for 2 hours and then it stays idle for 22 hours. With IAC, when you need to run a test, you create a machine, you run them for 2 hours and then destroy the machine. You are using them very efficient manner. When you're not running them, you're not using so that other teams can use it. So that instead of 10 machines, you might only need 2 machines. You're using it fully optimized way. You'll have complete accountability. You know what things change. It's all code. It's in Git. When something change, you know who changed it, what time. Have complete accountability there. Very rare chances of failures when you do the infrastructure. And Martin Fowler, long back, he said, server should be like a phoenix. It should rise every day, run the test, and then be destroyed. And the next day, it should again rise from the ashes. And these are all the tools. I think I'll stop in the next slide, not here, that we have. I will talk through all these tools as we go through. Focus will be on Packer, Terraform, and Ansible. But I might touch on the other ones if there is interest and if they want to demo for other things. CloudFormation is tailored for AWS and Azure. Resource Manager is tailored for Azure. If you want, we can demo them. Terraform, Packer are generic. It can work for your VMs, for Docker, for any cloud. So that's why we prefer these tools. These are all configuration management. I'll talk about them. I'll talk about tools, all the as we go, we will talk about each of these, go into detail. Okay. So these are the questions from the registration link. So if you think I did not answer any of this so far, we can spend time on answering. I don't know if there are any questions so far on the things that I talked on.
So far, we don't have any questions,
Ready.
Srinivas. Maybe we can
Very
take
good.
this at the end.
Sure. So I want to complete details. See, yeah, I thought I prepared the first few slides depending on all these questions. So hopefully I answered. If not, most of them will be clear as we go through. I will answer. Might not be in this session, but in the next session or the after, I will talk about all. Okay. So once this is like different flows that we can have with the tools that we have for IAC. This is an example. Like you have Packer to create templates of a machine, of a VM or a AWS instance. And then once you have a Packer template, the team can directly take the template and start working on them, start creating things. Or a team will say, I'll take this template, I will create multiple instances using Terraform, and I will configure things like Java or Oracle. I need Java to run my application. If your application needs Java or .NET or something else. So you will configure with Ansible, and then I will run my tests. Or the other use case can be, I have a template, but I need a specific applications on that template before my team can start using. Like these are mandatory for my organization, Java, .NET. So I will provision them using Ansible, and then I can create instances and run my tests. So you can do several use cases combinations when we use Packer, Terraform, and Ansible. The combination, that's why all three are important. You can do everything. I know some teams who started with saying that I will use Ansible for provisioning, configuring, and everything. That is possible. And some says I will use Terraform and shell scripting for provisioning, configuring, and everything. That is absolutely possible. But over the time, you will lose the power of these tools. They are created to do a specific thing, specific job, and they're very good at doing that job. But if you start saying that I will use this Ansible for provisioning and Packer for configuring, that you will lose that not flexibility, you'll lose the power of the tool. Packer and Terraform are for provisioning, Ansible is configuring, and you can benefit if you like use the combination. These are the different combinations. As we talk about them, it will be more clear. Maybe towards after 2-3 sessions, if I open this, you'll be clear. Oh, now I understand this. Why you said this. Okay, so I will now go to Ansible. IAC is done. The whole overview is done. Now into Ansible. So if Ansible is used like when we are doing Packer and when we are doing Terraform, so it's good to start with this. Okay, some question I won't answer that. Okay, so what is Ansible? I think I did a little bit. I explained a little bit. Ansible is a configuration management. It's for configuring applications on your system. Once you have the hardware, if you need, before you start your test, if you need like, I don't know, Selenium agent install, QTP install, Java install, that's where Ansible comes in. You might be doing that right now with some kind of scripting or other tool. But once you look at the power of Ansible, I'm sure you won't go back. You will never go back. It's so powerful. It has a lot of things. And why Ansible over other tools? It's agentless. So Ansible has a server. It should be Linux. The server should be on Linux. And if you want to configure on 3 different machines, Java or something, you just write a playbook and say install Java in these 3 machines, and it just goes. You don't need anything on the remote machine. It uses SSH for Unix and WinRM for Windows. I'll talk about WinRM later. For right now, we'll focus on the Linux part, and it just connects to the machines and goes and installs. It goes and runs. It goes and does everything that you ask for. So it's so powerful that way. And the most and the important thing that I like is it's idempotent, which means Ansible is declarative, not imperative. Like shell script, what you do is you tell shell script how to do it. You say, go to this machine. There'll be a HTTP server. You go and start it or stop it. That's what you write in shell script, right? In Ansible, what you say is, you go to this machine, server should be in started state. That's what you say. That's declarative. You will understand with the example that I will show today, but that's so powerful, and you can never go wrong with things if it's declarative. So I'll explain as we go through. I'll explain on why I said. And it's agentless. You don't need agent. Some of the other configuration management tools, like I think it's might be Salt, but most of them uses agent. That's very hard, right? If you need to create agents in all the remote machines. And it uses YAML syntax. YAML means ain't other markup language. It's similar to JSON or XML, but YAML is a superset of them. And it's much more easy to read. when I show you, you will understand. It's very, very easy to create an AML file or an Ansible play or a playbook. It's very, very easy. I will come back to the screens to this page when I demo again. So that's Ansible. This is the structure of Ansible. Again, I will come back to this when I'm demoing. At the bottom level, what you have is tasks. You write tasks. Tasks is nothing but it's a call to a module. Ansible has hundreds of, I think it's 800 modules or so available. For example, if you want to copy something, if you want to run something, they're all modules. If you want to start something, install something, they're all readily available. You call that module. Yum is the module for Linux install. So Yum is like the package manager, right? Yum, apt, RPM, Chocolatey, they're all modules for installing things. Ansible has a module for copy, everything. So create a task and which calls a module, and that's done. And you group different tasks into a play, and finally you'll have different plays. At the top you have a play. I'll give you an example. So my playbook is I have to start different app server databases on different machines. On machine ABC, I want to install app server. I want to run some scripts to start. On machine C and D, I want this Tomcat and other things installed, and I want to start and do more things. So your play will be databases and app server. And you'll have tasks for each play. This play will go to machine A, B, and installs things that you need. This play will go to machine C, D, and installs app servers and other things. That's the entire structure of it. I'll explain the structure, how it works, how to know the power of things. But this is the structure. I'll come back to this often when I'm doing demos. Then it will be very, very, very clear on how to do this. It's all set of instructions. Everything is set of instructions. And you have a lot of examples. Ansible has a Git page, and it has a Galaxy, which is like a lot of Ansible content in there. If you're looking for installing an app server, maybe you'll have already code in Galaxy. First, you should look at Galaxy. We will go through Galaxy, what we have there, and it will be clear. So we will touch on all of this. This is like, I won't go into all details of Ansible. When I'm demoing, I'll touch on all things. So far, before I think the next slide is demo. Before I go to demo, any other questions, anything that we have?
Srinivas, I think we can take it at the end. We can dedicate 10 to 15 minutes for questions.
Sure, Raja. Hope you can see my screen, and it's all clear, right? If you have any issues in
it's clear. Yeah.
Cool. So let me. So and yeah. This is my server machine. This is the server, Ansible server, where I will have my inventory file and a playbook. The second one is one of my remote server, this one. Okay. So what I mentioned was the server should have a inventory file explaining, okay, this is the machines, remote machines where you should install things. So that's a host file. I will, I'm opening a dummy file. The actual host file have my username and password, so I'm not opening that. So what it has is, you mention the server name and the group. So I said, so I explained, right? Here. So the first two plays, this is like my play for app servers. This is my play for databases. So I'll group it that way. My servers will have like 4 machines, and then I'll have DBs with like 4 other machines. And I will give the credentials for like, these are the credentials for servers, and I will have a separate group for databases. How do I connect to this server? You can all mask them and all. I will explain that later. Right now it's all plain. And this is servers dot variables, right? And this is servers group. This is my host thing. This is my host thing, which is this in file that I talked about. You can do it with different ways that I'll talk about. This is the simplest way I'm showing you right now. Okay, so let me go to session 1, and I did something wrong. Session 1 is this folder. Okay, so this is my first Ansible script, where first I'm mentioning the host where I want to do these operations is servers. So it knows it has to, this is the block that it has to go into. The task that I want to do is, I want to, like every Linux machine will have a HTTP server. I want to make sure the Linux machine has it, and I want to make sure it's latest. I'm not saying which version. If you're writing a shell script, you say like, oh, install, go to this place, install this latest version of HTTPD, and then do something. I'm not saying all of that. I'm saying HTTPD should be latest. And you also write in your shell script, if it's already installed, don't do that. And all that loops, right? Here I'm saying, this is what I want. It should be latest. So I have tasks, and modules is like in here. Yum is a module, service is a module. Yum is a package manager for Linux, just like RPM or apt. So using Yum, I'm saying make sure it's latest. That's all I'm saying. I'll show you what that means. And I'm saying then it should be in started state. I'm not saying start it or do something. It should be started state. That's all. So let me run it, and then we will come back to this again. So this is my server, and this is my host, right? Let me see if okay, I have HTTPD running. I will stop it here. HTTP. Okay, let me check if it stopped. There is no process of HTTPD. So I'll go here to my host, and what we have to do is Ansible playbook and run my script. Just to give you, this is like very basic raw way of using Ansible. There is a lot of power. This is not the right way, but quick and dirty way. I will, in the next sessions, I'll show you the right way of using Ansible. So don't show the scripts to anyone. They'll say like, oh, this is not the way to use using Ansible. This is quick and dirty script that I'm showing, just to show you the power. And also I have the scripts in my GitHub repository. I will share it to you, all of you, if you want to try out later. I forget I can do that. If anyone have the machines and want to try that, more than 40. Okay, so I'm running this script now. What it says. It's gathering the facts. I'll talk about the facts later, what it gathers, why they're important. It says OK here, which means it checked the version of the Apache. It has the latest version, so I'm not doing anything there. And ensure Apache is running. It says it changed, which means it's not running and it started it. So I'll run it again. Meanwhile, we can check the status here. It's already running there now before it stopped. So right now it said OK both the times, which means the state you mentioned, both are in the same state. I didn't do any changes. I didn't touch anything. I just checked and I just came back. That's the power of Ansible, just to show you. If you have to do the same thing in shell, imagine the number of things that you need to do, number of steps. And if it started and if you try to start again and again, there might be some consequences, right? Ansible does not do that. If you want to, to make you believe, I can also say that I'm removing HTTP server from this machine. So now if I say HTTPD minus k start, it says there is nothing. I can't find anything like HTTPD. So now it's not there. If I run this script now, my first thing is check HTTPD is latest. Gathering facts is okay. I'm checking Apache. It says changed. It says changed, which means it didn't find HTTPD. It went ahead and looked for the latest, installed it, and it's not started, so it started. So now if I do it, HTTP is already running. Now it says, and which means it's already installed and running. So that's power. It's like simple terms. It's not easy. It's not easy in any other language to do that. And sorry, here. So that's the thing. When I said latest, I'm only saying latest, nothing else. It does all the job. I'm only saying started and nothing else. So it does everything then. Right? So that's what I meant declarative. I'm saying what instead of how to do. What means started. It should be a started thing. That's all. That's the power. Okay. So let's look at one more script. What I'm doing here is I'm copying a file. So the first one, what I showed you is you have a machine, you have installed a web server, you have started it, and then maybe you have to copy a file and run the script. These are all dummy scripts, but that's the process that you follow, right? So I have a task named copy, which copies a test file into this location, etc temp. Let me see if it's there in etc temp. Yeah, I have some machines which I will delete. So I don't have anything here. I am asking to copy this file to here, change the permissions and run this script, the test.sh. What this script does is it just creates a new file. It touches a new file just to show you that it has run. So let me run this. So this is the script that I want to copy to this remote one, to this location, which I don't have anything here. Okay, Ansible playbook run a script.ml. Okay, task gathering is okay. Copy file changed, which means it did some change. Execution change means it did some. Let me do ls here. So we have a file here. It copied. Copying means, sorry, I will show you what this file does. It just does a touch, which means creates that file. So it created a new file. Okay. So I'll run the same thing here again. Look at timestamps here. Let's look at 2310. It just says, okay, execution happens every time. So it just says the file is already there, and I change the permission and nothing else. So if you see here, yeah, the file timestamp didn't change, and it will execute it. Now let me do this. In the remote machine, I will change the script. I will just add some things here and save. Okay, I modified the script in the remote machine. Whatever is copied, whatever is already copied, I modified it. Now I will run this again. So it says copy file changed. Let me go and check what happened to my file here. It again copied. It knows it modified. It's not the state. So what it does is, I was asked to copy a file. The file that I have on this machine is different than the file I have on this machine. So I have to copy it again. It also checks if the file is exactly same. If it's exactly same, it won't do anything. If the file is different, it copies the file again. Again, that's the power. If you have to do that in shell script, imagine what you have to do. It's like so many steps, checking if this and this are same. That's what it means by drifts and all. If something changes, it knows, it does it again. If nothing changes, it just does not do anything. It just comes out. Yeah. So anything else I have? I can show how to install Ansible and all. It's just yum install if you want to do. If I try it, I think it will say that it's not there, or it's the latest. So that's just the command. So that's for today. I touched on modules, tasks, place, and playbooks. Ansible introduction. There's a lot of depth to Ansible. As I said, I did a very raw script there. There is a lot of power to how to the folder structure, how to create playbooks, what is the right format. There are all like so many things in. So I'll take the questions now. I think the things. If you have
Yeah,
any
so
more.
Srinivas, I have, yeah, Srinivas, sorry. So are we done, Srinivas,
Yes,
with the
yes.
session?
I'm
Okay.
open with questions.
Okay, I have noted down the questions. So let's go through the
Okay, good,
questions quickly.
good,
Uh,
good. Okay,
so the first question is, some of these have been answered, but for everybody to understand, be on the same page. So just wanted
okay,
to go through these questions again. So the first
okay, sure.
question is how the communication will happen between Ansible and remote servers.
Yeah, it's all SSH. The communication is through SSH. You list the machines here. As I mentioned, we have a uh, host file here, and host will have the list of machines that you need to communicate through, and it's all SSH. in the for Linux machines. For Windows, it uses WinRM, which I'll cover later. But that's the communication channel.
Okay.
Is that yeah?
The second question is, what is the main difference between Docker and Ansible? We are also achieve the multiple instances of machine via Docker.
Right. Docker, you can span yeah, Docker is a container. If your application supports Docker, you can pull a Docker image easily. And you can, what do you do is you have a Docker image configured with all things, and you will have a template. Maybe you will have it in uh, placed somewhere, Artifactory if you're using or somewhere, and then you pull it. That's the if you support Docker. That's and if your use case is everything should be a Docker. Maybe you're using something that
So
doesn't
the
support
question
Docker.
is, what is the difference between Docker and Ansible?
Okay, Ansible is just a configuration management tool. It configures things. Docker is a containerization. The technology is completely, it's all on how can you containerize your applications and how can you use them. So every vendor now have a Docker image. If you go to Docker Hub, you will find a Docker image for all the different applications. You can pull them and you can start working them. But if your requirement is you need a VM to create your application and create other applications and you need to talk to them, you will use Packer and Ansible and Terraform. Even with Packer, if you want to pull a Docker instance, it's you can use Packer to pull a Packer supports Docker images also. You can configure and pull a Docker instance using Packer. I will I will cover that how you can pull Docker images using Packer in the Packer session.
Okay.
Is that
The next
Ansible is for
question.
configuration management? That's all. It's for configuring your things.
All right. The next question is, can you please show the installation as well?
So what I showed, and it just I can remove Ansible. I'll remove Ansible from my machine. I think it will and just yum remove and yum install in Linux. If yum doesn't work, try apt. Ubuntu and all apt-get is the thing, or try RPM, and now my Ansible is gone from this machine. Now all I have to do is yum install Ansible. Sometimes it different. I don't know what this no arc is. I will find out and let you know. It is. It says this is there. Install. It installs. This is the only command, and I have this command in. Okay. I have written a small README on how to. These are the scripts that I showed. If you copy and want to use, I have small README on like how to install, copy things, and how to run this if you want to practice before the next thing. But it's just a small command. Yeah, means now I have Ansible ready. Is that clear?
Okay. Yeah, moving to the next question. Can we replace Ansible with K8s, Kubernetes?
Kubernetes is orchestration thing. It's not Ansible as we go. No, they are not completely different. Uh, it's more of an again an IT tool for orchestration. If you have a lot of containers, how do you manage them? How do you deploy them and all? It is specific to containers. They are different. Maybe as I go through, I can explain more on the difference, but they are not. They are they are different. They have different use cases.
Okay. The next question, how can we decide the specific place for specific tasks? Like play one is going to task one and task two. How are you grouping the things? Any
That's
restrictions in the number? that
Yeah.
play can handle the specific number of tasks?
Okay, that's session 2. As I said, this is a raw way of doing. I don't want, there are like, no, I don't want to show it now. It will be confusing. What I did is a very raw way of doing, but what we'll have is you will have a, um, instead of, I don't want to, you will have a playbook as the top level. You will have place defined. I didn't show any of this part. I only showed this part. Next session, I'll show the exact structure, what Ansible recommends. Why should you follow that? What is the advantage? And yeah, all the things that will answer this question clearly. If not, please ask after session 2. That's like another 15-20 minutes of explaining the whole thing. That's why I'm saying after next session.
Okay. The next question is inside the playbook we have any number of can we have any number of tasks? Any best
Yeah.
practices to have a specific number of tasks?
Um, Again, next session, I'll talk about modularity. How do you make things modular, reusable? Why is it very easy with Ansible? I don't think there is a restriction on number of tasks, but I don't know. If it's like readability is the only thing that matters. I can check that next session. But I can, I will be talking about how to group tasks, how to group plays, and so that you can reuse it. You don't have to recreate things, how easy it is in Ansible compared to any other language, any other tool. That I'll talk in the next session. Again, it's a big session.
Cool. The next question, what are all the different status of tasks?
Okay, and changed, I don't know, it might be error. Okay, changed. I have seen all those three, error, okay, and changed. There might be many more. I can check it. Can someone view?
Yeah, I have muted.
Oh, sorry. I can create an error here. It won't find this test file, and let me see what it says, the status. Hey. But I know of 3, 4. I can find out, and next session I can list down all the things. Post list
Okay.
is something. Oh, okay. I installed Ansible again. It created it. Okay, I will show it. I will explain.
The next question is, could you elaborate what is agentless? You mentioned that there are some other tools which are with agent. What do you suggest to use, agentless or with agent?
Right. So when you have 4 different machines, and if the communication if you need to communicate between these 2 machines, so what I'm doing now is I have the playbook here. I'm saying go install on this different machine. So it needs to come. I mean, take things from here and here. There is a communication mechanism that it should follow. And when things happen, it needs to get back the status of it. Like, for example, if you see, after every task, it's saying, okay, 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 or change, which means there is a communication back from this machine to this machine saying, this is successful, tell the server. This is failed, tell the server. So that communication, Ansible follows a push mechanism. I'll talk about it later. But some follows a push and pull mechanism where they need a small piece of code running here. That's the agent. That agent tells like, just inform server, I'm done. There are different ways of doing things. Some does it agentless. Any remote model, remote, client server model follows this like local and remote ways of doing things. So Ansible does not need an agent on this machine. It's all SSH and it's a push model. So it does not need an agent. It's very easy. If you need an agent, imagine every time you have a server, or if you have 100 servers, you have to first install agent on the subject server. I I didn't remember Salt or other tools. So most of them they have need an agent. That's a big plus of Ansible. That's why I prefer Ansible, and has become the most popular tool also. That's one of the main reasons, agentless.
Okay. Moving on to the last question that we have. So how are you using Linux in Windows?
Next, no, this is like I'm using a putty session, that's all. This is my small tool to connect to a Linux machine. You have many other, like there are many other tools like this. It's just a session that's connected to a remote Linux machine.
Okay. The
I
last,
used it. Yeah,
we have one more question. So Ansible is agentless with when compared to others.
right,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Shreens.
So if I say Ansible, Salt, Puppet is the other two, and Agentless. Yeah, you'll get all the details on agent, agentless, what is best, what is the, so you can look at it, but we can talk about it also. What is agentless and Ansible, why what's the advantage and all. Okay, so anything else?
I think that's it. We don't have any further questions. Does anyone wants to speak or have any questions? You can unmute and ask the questions if you have any.
Thank-
Hey, I have a question. Hey, Khaja, and
Hey, hi, Sir. Yep, go ahead.
yeah. So I am having very basic question. So generally, this is a part of the DevOps, right? Correct me first.
yeah,
Let me complete first, Srinivas.
okay,
So generally, if I talk about like the MNCs, right? So all these things taken care by a DevOps team, right? And we are not playing any role. So why generally people have like question, why should I learn those things, because we are not going to work and what is happening we don't know. So generally they'll provide the machine and we have to execute our test cases,
right.
right? And one more question, like is it something related to the Jenkins something?
Okay, yeah, I didn't cover
Yeah.
that in it. So
So those question I have in my mind. Yeah.
yeah, all questions. So as I mentioned, DevOps is an intersection of all this, right? A multinational might, I mean, they need that separate teams for a reason because of the quantity of things that they do. There might be, for and there are many companies which might say like it maybe one or two DevOps team members, we can't afford more than that. So everyone will share from here. The other things, the main things might be done here. That's kind of how we do in my company. So now again, if you are moving from here to a startup, you won't have a DevOps team or any small product-based things. It's like everyone does everything kind of thing. That's where it becomes important. But large multinational, maybe they don't let you touch anything, the infrastructure part, because of the process things, because of all the place. So maybe there you might not have a need to do it, but this small scripting thing, Ansible, anything that you do, your daily things, these are all things that you do, right? Install something you might do once in a while, even if it's not for your work. If you're testing something, that way, like shell scripting, everyone uses shell script for doing a lot of things. And I think Ansible will replace the whole shell scripting or some other tool that comes in future. And this is much more powerful than shell scripting or any other tool that's out there. And TeamCity, Jenkins, they are continuous. They are like build systems where you can configure continuous delivery pipelines. I can talk about at the final, I can show how you can combine all this into a team city as one flow. That I can talk about. That gives you a complete picture of how it should be used. Right? And in my things, in my organization, we are very clear. I say we say like IT takes care of giving me a template. From there, I can write Ansible and contribute, or IT can give me, or DevOps can give me. So we have a nice handshakes there on like what things we can help them, what things they can help us. So in that model, it helps to learn all these tools. Hope
Yeah,
it's
and also to add on top of what Srinivas has said, see, these tools, they are not restricted. They are not restricted to be used only in the DevOps area or a specific SDLC lifecycle. In our organization, we are using Ansible, we are using K8s, we are using Docker containers, we are using a lot of other DevOps tools, even in the testing practice as well. Let's say that you want to set up a test environment. You can use Ansible playbooks, right? You can use all those modules. You can create a playbook. You can that makes life very easy. You don't have to reach out to a DevOps team. So it's all about the culture that you have in the team. If you have a culture which is still a classic and old model, most of the times you see this in the banking and financial sectors, right? Where actually the data is very secured. They do not want to enter somebody who is not having that expertise in that tool or framework to touch that part of the code or that part of whatever the machine that we are talking about here, right? So that's one thing. And the second thing, if you see, I have sent an email specifying three important things what recruiters have been looking for in a resume, right? The very important thing first, before getting a call, is that we need to have a perfect resume for the perfect job description. Whatever the JD is, we need to have it matching as close as possible. So if you see these days, there is no barrier between DevOps and testing. It's all combined. It's all pretty much combined. You will not see, very rarely you will see saying that we want only UI automation tester. Very rarely you will see somebody asking for API automation tester. So there are a bunch of miscellaneous things which used to be miscellaneous in the past, but now they have come as a mainstream. For example, you can consider Docker. Docker has now become a very much mainstream. If you want to scale up your test, we have been using Docker. If you want to scale up horizontally, we are using either Docker Swarm or Kubernetes, right? And if you want to provision multiple machines, you want to install things, you want to do all the sort of things which are automatically, which has to happen automatically to work to you, then yes, you got all these, off-the-shelf tools which Srinivas has just walked us in this session. Or if you go to cloud, then you have cloud specific tools. So I don't think we are going to cover in this session, maybe in the further sessions. Like for example, you have AWS Cloud Formation, where you can create cloud formation templates for the entire infrastructure that you want to create. If you want to create a VPC, you can have that as a small resource that can create. So, I mean, this can be pretty new to somebody who haven't been involved in this. But the great thing is that unlike in the past where you have to have huge servers to run all these sort of tools and frameworks, you can do from within your operating system, whatever the operating system that you have, right? You can quickly spin up a virtual box. You can quickly spin up a VMware instance and then put Ubuntu or Red Hat Enterprise Linux on top of that and can run all these commands. Okay.
thanks. Yeah, that's a good. And just to add, these are all open source, so that's the beauty again. You can just download anytime and try them out.
So hopefully, I think this is the last question. So what are the prerequisites for the setup? Do we need a Linux VM or a machine?
Yeah, the Ansible server needs Linux, and other things can be VM. You need one Linux, but it's easy, right? There are so many ways you can get a Linux box if you want to try out. There are OS boxes, right, Kaja, that provides a
Correct.
Linux
Yeah.
container kind of thing.
Yeah, I was
But
just to ping that. I was about to ping that. Okay. So I ping
so,
that
and
URL in the chat so you guys can take a look into that.
yeah, and you can create a vagrant box in your thing. So that also we can cover a bit if you want. You can have a Oracle host for virtual machines for hosting. Oracle virtual box. You can have a Oracle VM virtual box where you can host different OSs, whatever you want. I have a CentOS Ubuntu in my Windows machine, and you can host them and you can run them. But Linux server is always Linux.
Yeah. Do we have any other
Ka- Kaja,
questions?
Kaja, I have one last question. Basic question it is. So if I talk about the Docker, if I'm using Docker, right? So as per my understanding, I'll get all the configuration inside the images. So
Right.
still on top of that, still I required what Siri Ramas is talking about, all this configuration, Ansible and other things as well. Still I required the configuration.
If you still want to add something to the
Y-
Docker
You
container.
are breaking. Uh,
So you're saying if you still want to add something to that, can you use Ansible or something? That's what your question is, right?
no, does it still require to configure my system something like if I talk about the Selenium image something if I'm using right to create one Docker image right if I'm using Docker image
Okay.
so it will give all the setup right so on top of that still I required this setup like Ansible what you talked about
Um, so how do you, so you run your tests on the Docker container also, right?
right
How do
right
you, and the Selenium setup and all you have already.
right
And so maybe that's what it is for you. The IT or someone is doing all the job in the backend. Spin multiple Docker images to install what all you need in there. Uh, so maybe they're using all these tools. I don't know, or maybe they're going through API or some other technology. They can use Packer, Terraform, and Ansible. And in future, if you have to share some of this, uh, maybe you need to do using some of these technologies.
okay got it
So to answer your question a little more, Sachin, the thing
yeah
that you are talking about Docker, right? It's on top, which is nothing but you need a host to run, right? It doesn't run on its own. But if you want to provision the host, if you want to install something on inside the host, right? Let's say that you want to install some sort of software, um, then you can use Ansible. And you can even install Docker itself with Ansible. There are n number of modules that are available.
Yeah, that's a good
Okay?
point, Kaja, both of them. Yeah.
So both are serving different purposes. So Docker sits on top of your host and runs whatever that you have instructed through a Docker file or through a Docker image to run for your application. That could be your application, or maybe you have Dockerized your test case and you are trying to run that. So that's a different thing. So both are serving two different purposes. Is that clear?
So
yes Kaza got it
we can try that one sample, how we can pull Docker image using Ansible. There is already a module there. And we can,
Believe me, guys, you will really fall in love with infrastructure as code. The very first time that I saw, I couldn't understand anything. Even I was in the same boat. Why do we have to go in this direction, right? Once you start using this, you will see the power of infrastructure as code. It's super powerful, right? Okay. Do we have any other questions? Yeah, I have one question here, Srinivas. So the
yeah,
question is, as you mentioned, infrastructure as code is different from Agile or DevOps or continuous delivery, how is it different?
So as I said, they are all like evolution, or they are all like derivation from one small principle of agile. So one of the principle is creating software early that is always ready to use. This ready to use is like three words, but this is where everything came from. How can I make it ready to release like this afternoon? That's how continuous delivery came in. But if I want continuous delivery, everything should be stable. That's how IAC came in. So it's all like derivation, the continuous delivery, pipelines, shift left. These are all the keywords, right? Whenever you go, look at anything, it says shift left. Every company says, I'm shifting left. Why are you shifting left? Because I want to be ready to release everywhere. Because I want to be agile. I'm following Scrum or Safe or Kanban. It's all derivation. It all came from two small words, three small words ready to release. DevOps or continuous delivery or IAC, shift left, all this. Is that clear or still you need more explanation there?
Yeah, that question was specifically from Shiva. I'm not sure. Shiva. Oh, okay, yeah, he says thanks.
Initially I had a lot of
So,
confusion, but when I kept all of them side by side like this, then okay, now I am clear. Here, so just go through
Srinivas,
them. Yeah.
Srinivas, I have a like some information about that shift left. Please correct me if I am wrong. Like it is
Okay.
a practice intent to prevent defects earlier than the software delivery process, earlier
Correct.
in the delivery process. Like
Correct.
the idea is to improve quality by moving tasks to the left as early in the life cycle as possible.
You're
Am
right.
I right?
That's the exact thing. You had put it in a right way.
Yeah.
And one more thing is that way we are ready in time. Why are we? It's like saving time. We want to find as early as possible.
Yeah. In
Why
the
do
life
we
cycle.
want to find? Because we want
Yes.
to be ready anytime.
And one more thing, like uh, previously we discussed about that, like Ansible and Puppet and all these things. Like so, currently, if I I can explain way. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Like for suppose I am a center of excellence team in QA. I'm not a QA. For suppose, okay,
Okay.
then I will prepare as per my organization. I will prepare in a structure like I want like Selenium, latest Selenium with Maven, all these structures and all everything, and I will give it to the team, like configuration management team. They will write a code in such a way that like whenever the QA is newly joined into my organization, then using their Ansible, they will install that new machine with all the things, whatever is needed for me for QA. So they will install all the things in a one go using the Ansible, whatever you showed, right? So they
Okay.
will give it to the uh, uh, employee, newly joined employee, so that he no needs to install, he no needs to come back to the infrastructure team or IT team like, hey, I want Selenium, hey, I want Maven to be installed, hey, I want like pom.xml to be given that like whatever the dependencies are there, I need all these things like that, blah, blah, blah. You no need to ask anything. Like using this one, immediately you can create a, just like whatever we want for a basic QA guy, you can create that one and you can give it to the employee, whoever newly joined as a QA. Am I right?
That is correct. Yeah. So just to give you, this is from my organization. That's why I didn't share it. We should have a clear handshake mechanism. If you see, we clearly mentioned what is owned by IT, where can we help, what is owned by engineering, what is engineering plus IT. We have a clear understanding clear handshake of things. If IT gives us a template, how can I modify this template? Can I modify them? And how can I contribute to this? It's all in Git. Anyone can contribute. So what is the review process if I want to contribute something here, if I want to contribute something here and I'm not IT? Everyone contributes to everything, but there's a handshake mechanism that we call. That's all. Just a review process saying that you can do anything, but if you're doing here, if you're an engineering guy, let me review it first before you check in. So that helps just to have that handshake kind of everywhere. And for a new joinee, this is where it is. Try to understand this. If you have a new requirement, this is the process you follow.
Okay.
Is that clear?
All right. Sorry guys, we have overshot by 19 minutes now. So I think that was still helpful for everyone. So before we close out today's session, Srinivas, I'm going to share my screen now.
Yes.
Anything else, Srinivas, you want to?
No. It was thanks again for everyone. It's not easy, as I said. Thank you. It's a very good session.
Okay. So yeah, just a little commercial from a commercial perspective, guys. Not something that we are asking to pay anything, but a quick thing which I just wanted to give people who might not have been there in the very first few minutes which we spoke in this session. So we have a meetup group that we have created, and we are three organizers today, Rakesh, Sai, and myself, and we have been creating all these sessions on different topics. So we started with Postman some 3 weeks back. We started with a one-on session with on Postman. Rakesh has taken that, and we have got a tremendous response to that. Thanks to the entire community. And the second session we started was on karate. So we started the sessions last Sunday. So the karate sessions, we keep continuing that. So the sessions would be happening from 9:30 a.m. IST till 11:30 a.m. IST. So the sessions are planned for another 5 weeks, hopefully. If there are any further requests, so we'll be going more in depth of karate as well. And as you know, IAC, that is Infrastructure as Code, we just kick-started today. And regarding the timings, we'll send out to you. If there are any concerns, please do let us know. So we are thinking about having these sessions for the next 5 or 6 weekends on Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. IST. Right, like Srinivas?
Yeah, 1 hour for sure. We can talk, Kaja, if
Okay.
how we want to do. Yeah.
Sure, but we wanted to have it a little early, like 8 o'clock, folks, so that our friends from US or the other part of the world also can join. So that's the only reason why we are having these sessions early. So that's the thing which I wanted to share. And so this is the group which we have created, the meetup group, just in case if you are not aware. So please head over to testing and DevOps group. So hopefully by now the search engine optimization should also have been picked. So if you can go into Google and search for testing and DevOps group meetup, then hopefully it should pop up. Okay. So that's the thing. And so there was a question around OS boxes. So you can just go to osboxes.org, where you'll be able to find readily available virtual machines of different flavors. So you can choose one of those. So you have of VirtualBox as well as VMware. So I think that's it from my end. And yeah, just in case if you miss any of this session, don't worry, we have done the recording. And a surprising thing is that we also have done the YouTube live streaming, but we have unlisted the video. We just wanted to see how it goes in this session. If all works and as per the plan today, Then hopefully from next weekend onwards, we'll instead of joining on Zoom, you can join on YouTube live stream itself. That's it from our end. Any further questions? We got 1 more minute, hopefully. All right. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Srinivas.
Thank you. Thanks, Kaja.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great weekend, guys. If anyone is joining in tomorrow's session on karate, we'll catch up there. Thanks again.